Do you ever go through as the renovations are being complete to check off on things, or what does your role look like in that, or just Stracker's role, I guess, in general?
Rick and I, whether it's an in-state deal or an out-of-state deal, we're rotating on a monthly basis and boots on ground. One of his favorite quotes is you get what you inspect, not what you expect, and that is absolutely true. If you leave the children to play by themselves, you're probably not going to like what you see when you get there after a couple months. So we really like to be involved in every aspect of this. Because our ownership periods are so abbreviated, we have to make sure that we're keeping our eye on the prize and you're moving the ship forward. We have knowledge of every phase of what's going on all of our assets.
So if someone were to bring you a deal today, what would you first look at, in order to get to that point where you're saying, okay, even with some of the expense creep or with my insurance premium potentially doubling, this deal still makes sense? What would your step-by-step kind of look like if you don't mind going through it?
No, absolutely. So I think we're more location sensitive today than we have been over the last 5-6 years because as the economy shifts a little bit, collections soften. The prospect of good renters is a little more problematic in some of the areas that have been purchasing before, and there certainly has been some COVID fallout there. The COVID assistance or SAFR in Missouri, that sort of created some hardship from an ownership perspective, and the inability to be able to affect your residents who aren't paying and push them down the road. So being more location sensitive, we're trying to make sure that we're in markets and segments of markets that appeal to a customer who is able to afford the product that we're trying to offer. And we're always trying to offer a step up to area residents, and our strategy is to improve, say, 25% of the unit interiors on a fully renovated basis, so that we can make sure that we appeal to two types of customers. But certainly more area sensitive, and also we're underwriting those expenses to a level that we haven't in the past. And I think that accounts for the way most people are looking at these types of assets today, which translates to why transaction volume is so far down versus last year, because brokers are still trying to convince buyers that the market is the way it was back in late 2020, early 21, but it's just not the case. So we're much more sensitive in terms of area, much more sensitive in terms of expense underwriting. But other than that, things are pretty much the same in terms of how we look at these deals. I've mentioned cyclical a few times, but that's just how we look at this. We know that the market's going to come back around. We're seeing opportunities on a basis level that we haven't seen since maybe pre-2020. So that's exciting from my perspective, from someone who's well capitalized, from groups that have dry powder. I love to see that, but we have to make sure we're underwriting these deals at levels that make sense, so that we can sustain some operating losses for the next year or two to see through the trees on the other side.
You're a very conservative buyer from what I've been able to see. And I have no doubt that you guys are ready to pounce on the opportunities when they present themselves. I've never heard anyone mention wanting to appeal to two customers. And I think that's a great idea, because I've seen some people kind of position themselves to where they want to renovate a certain number of apartments and then, quote, leave some meat on the bone for a potential buyer down the road. But appealing to two customer types makes so much sense to me. Have you seen any issues with having two customer types in one apartment community to where, maybe you have difficulty attracting one over the other, or has that worked out pretty well?
No,
for
it's
you?
worked out well. I think if we were renovating, that 25% to a level that was more extreme, say granite countertops or marble or high-end appliances, and that delta between rent levels was more extreme, you may get into some of those issues. But our deltas between our renovated units and our classic units isn't terribly extreme. A couple $100, isn't going to make the difference on a socioeconomic basis that creates a vast divide there. And we haven't seen any complications or issues from that strategy yet. And I certainly agree with you from a leave a meat on the bone perspective. That's another reason for taking this approach. We see from a market perspective that area residents potential residents might not be able to support the levels on a fully renovated basis to justify 100% of the units being renovated, but we'll allow the next guy to make that decision, and if that's right for them or right for their strategy for investment.
Yeah, they may have a differing opinion or access to information that you don't have access to. You never know.
Never know.
So just going back to like the actual rehab or the strategy in terms of buying, do you guys do your DD, like your physical DD in-house, or do you contract that out? And then your renovations, are you leaving that with the management company or a general contractor?
Sure. So we really like to keep our DD involved, keep our management company involved in that DD. So they generally shepherd that process. We're absolutely involved, from start to finish. But it really gives us a better start to the management and oversight, and it sort of jump starts our renovation process, if you want to call it that, having that management company involved from day one, because they've then gone through 100% of the units. They know what each unit interior looks like. They know what the layouts are. They know the quality of the residents, and the residents who have immediate issues from a cleanliness or from a repairs and maintenance perspective. So keeping the management companies involved in that process is really important for us. And from a renovation perspective, our management company that we've utilized most on most of our assets, they have a great construction oversight wing of their business as well. So they GC all of that improvement process for us, and it's typically worked well for us.
Do you ever go through as the renovations are being complete to check off on things, or what does your role look like in that, or just Stracker's role, I guess, in general?
Yeah. So we're, just like I mentioned, on a weekly basis, we're involved heavily in the conversations. Rick and I, whether it's an in-state deal or an out-of-state deal, we're rotating on a monthly basis and, boots on ground. We want to make sure, one of his favorite quotes is you get what you inspect, not what you expect. And that is absolutely true. If you leave the children to play by themselves, you're probably not going to like what you see when you get there after a couple of months. So, we really like to be involved in every aspect of this. Because our ownership periods are so abbreviated, we have to make sure that we're keeping our eye on the prize and you're moving the ship forward. Obviously, there's hiccups in that regardless of who's overseeing, but we really like to be involved and step into those renovations and make sure that we have knowledge of every phase of what's going on all of our assets.